In case they get confronted by you. Sorry, mate. Welcome back to another episode of Confessions of a PT. Super excited to bring you Series 2, and we're going to kick off the new year with New Year's resolutions. Are they a waste of time? Mr. Matcow, welcome back.
Welcome. Well, I know you've got a stat for this, so do you want to start with that? Because I think that's relevant.
So, a staggering 91% of people failed to keep their New Year's resolution, with only 9% being successful. And even more alarming is that 23% quit their New Year's resolution by the end of the first week. And a little side stat is that 100% of people in Basingstoke are scared to go to Shinham Tesco's now. In case they get confronted by you. Sorry, mate. I had to throw that one in there. Mr. Chinham Tesco's.
I've been doing a lot of protesting against the ultra processed foods establishment in the local area, for anyone that doesn't get that reference. I think they've become almost like an ironic joke now, haven't they, New Year's resolutions? And I think, in the same way people want to say, be very welcoming at the gym in January, there'll be lots of new faces, don't complain that your space is getting taken up by more bodies that were in the building than before Christmas. I think if you're someone that's waiting till January to make a change, then that is just flawed thinking. I think almost like the acid test is like, could you do something? Could you start something in December? The answer is yes, if you would really made the commitment and actually made the decision. But there's something kind of almost like, it's almost like you're subconsciously leaving yourself a parachute to fail, because if you call it a resolution, there's no credibility in them. So then when it goes south,
Yeah, I found that because I've had some clients that stop throughout December, and it's almost like if they're binging so hard through December, it almost makes them go harder when they come onto January. They're going to be set up for success. But what do you think is the difference between like the 9% that succeed compared to the 91 that don't?
It's when you've truly made a decision and you actually commit to something. And often if you partner that with like investing in something and you leverage yourself into it, then that's when real change is going to occur. And it doesn't matter if that's the 17th of June, the 1st of January, the 26th of October, that doesn't really matter. But you've got to get some understanding around how just flawed we are as humans and how kind of much of our behavior is on autopilot. And they say that when you're about 35, you're pretty much completely locked in the way you are, and you're only going to change something with real leverage, like your partner leaves you, or, do you know what I mean? Something like really traumatic for you to kickstart yourself. It's a nice idea to think that you will just wake up on the first Monday in January and do all these things that you don't do now. It's almost impossible. We're not that intelligent.
Yeah, I find it one of the worst things I hate when people say I'm going to start in January is I'm going to try one more time on my own. I'm like, you've tried how many times on your own? And I get it, obviously, the payday in December is slightly early before Christmas. So a lot of people is like, I don't get paid until the end of January. But I honestly think one of the best things, if you know a family member, a friend, loved one is struggling, that could be their almost Christmas present where you're investing for them. Do you know what I mean? I think one of the biggest issues is we've got support and then challenge. And I think both of them together equals change. And it's not enough on one side. Support is the biggest thing, because if you try it on your own and we'll say insanity, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expected to get different results. And that's what so many people do. But yeah, it's prioritizing. And I think rather than thinking it as a cost, it is an investment in your health and fitness. And the magnitude between fit people and sort of not is the gulf's only getting more and more.
And it's environment as well. If you don't hang around with people that are in demonstrating or living the kind of life that you want to be leading, you are going to struggle, because it is so important, like your environment. There's that saying, humans will respond or perform to the approximate level of their peers. So if you hang around with loads of people that are smashing it, you will raise your game, whether you know it or not. And, you know, you've got to throw yourself into something and be completely like immersed in it. You know, remember, like, went to the Tony Robbins event and he said, you know, you can take 150 Spanish lessons or you can move to Spain. What's going to kind of get you to learn, you know, like if you move to Spain, you'll find a way round it, signs, interactions. I've got to learn this, pick it up quicker. You know, it's like that with making positive change. Shift into a new group of people, join a gym, start a new community or something like that, and then they will almost by osmosis influence you. Otherwise, if you're just with the same setup that you've got now, your limited willpower each day to get up when it's freezing cold, it's dark in the morning, it's just not going to happen. It won't happen.
So, and I think other people putting their insecurities on you is huge. Like environment, I've had it time and time again where like clients will come on board to like my team and then all of their friends are like, waste of money, like you're going to fail, why are you doing that? But they won't hesitate to go to the weekend and drop hundreds of pounds on alcohol, and it's just like, why are you not like supporting what they're trying to do? But it is their own insecurities because they're worried if they get better then they're going to be
see that a lot where people's partners, friends, they poison drip people and it's like crabs in a bucket. They don't want you to succeed because that shines a light and a mirror on what they're doing, and they just know you as someone that's kind of at this level. If you go to that level, then that means either they've got to go there and they're not sure they can and want to and will, or it's easier to keep you, you know, kind of where you are and them not look so bad by contrast.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if that stat's actually gone up recently, because how much of a issue do you think social media is on the negative New Year's resolutions?
I think social media adds a pressure to perform differently anyway. So there's definitely an increased pressure on needing to look a certain way or do certain things that come from that. But you've got to try and use that as a inspiration, not a pressure that's just going to kind of make you feel depressed if you don't reach it. You've got to kind of take the good side of that out of it and follow pages that do lift you up and do make you want to, you know, the things that do pages that do 30-day challenges or something like that, where you've got that little bit of accountability, or they try and kind of evolve you into changing your habits, not just loads of people doing really cool things that you can't do, that you're going to have a punt at in January and then
that pressure.
Yeah, and then, you know, on January the 11th you realize you can't do 25 clap press ups, you know, into burpee muscle ups, and you think, oh, this whole thing's a waste of time, I give up.
Yeah, I think setting non-negotiables is key, and I think the biggest issue is people aiming too high, but they've almost got what is it I'm looking for, just that whole negative emotion of giving up at the first hurdle. I think that is like life. And I think I'm going to use my classic saying here, we live in a world where everything's instant. And when people look at the fitness side of it, they want instant results. But if they haven't done anything for 10, 15, 20 years, that's a lot of work, or I use damage lightly, that they've got to undo, and they're not going to get it. But then you do see on Instagram and like 4-week transformations or 6-day abs and all that. So I think there's the big pressure on that. But yeah, it's just, we don't have to work for anything. And we said this before, like Deliveroo, Tinder super likes. Everything is just swipe, touch of a button, and it's just graphed consistently. And I think when we look at progress, we've said it before, with like everything is determined by the number on the scales, not like how you feel, how real food makes you feel, sleep, stress. Like these are all indicators I think should be sort of included, not just, I didn't lose a pound this week, okay, I'm going back to my old words.
Yeah, I think we've got to, like you said, everything's so instant. You've always got to bring back the skill of keeping yourself motivated longer term. That is a skill set, whether it's through medium and long-term goals that you've set. You've got to realise that the state that you're in on the 2nd or 3rd of January or the 31st of December is not the same as it is on the 12th of February. So if you've got the pink bubbles to start in January, that's great. But how do you almost like seduce yourself into changing your habits, kind of find the joy in it, find kind of the love in the process, set little small goals that you kind of collect as wins that sort of build your levels of dopamine and keep you engaged. Because otherwise you're just being naive if you think that your state is just going to constantly be like that. And then whatever your kind of fake energy you're running on now for the new year is going to diminish or it's going to run out. And you've got to see that coming. You've literally got to see that coming and be like, okay, on the 10th of February, this is not going to be fun. It's going to be dark. It's going to be cold. The novelty is going to have worn off. I'm not potentially going to have the dream physique that my December brain told me I was going to have in just 6 weeks. How do I then still be doing the work then? And then you've cracked it. But if you're not thinking about the drop off is going to come, or how you're going to manage it, or that you are in a bit of a fake state at the moment, then you're in trouble.
I think, I say that to clients, like they're like, oh, I lack motivation. I don't mean they lack motivation. They lack clarity on how to get to their goal. So it's almost like when you set a deadline for a goal and then reverse countdown it, so you've got like almost stepping stones. But you're exactly right. And I see it time and time again, like commitment's doing it when you don't want to do it. And people have that false sense of signing up with a coach, going to a gym, like it's all going to be sunshine and rainbows. Like it's not. There's going to be times where you're going to be ill, arguing with the missus. You know what I mean? If you're outside Greg screaming at people, it's going to be tough. And if you've been with someone that's been there, done it, and they can make you aware of that, I think that's powerful. I loved your Instagram post the other day about like the Alzheimer's at 70 started at 40. I think people look at health and fitness. Everyone's looking for that physical benefit, but not thinking about like heart disease, mental
health aspect.
Like, so the health aspect is massive. And I think last year was massive for me because people that I love and care about have finally started getting these illnesses. I know you can't obviously choose or whoever gets it, but I was like, fucking hell, it's like serious now. I think most of us are obviously getting over 30 and that's not slowing down. And if you're not prioritizing health and fitness now, like, and I say this, I think the biggest why is at the moment you've got a choice. Imagine if that choice got taken
absolutely
away. You've got a choice to make a New Year's resolution now. Like if you get diagnosed with dementia or anything like that, powerful words.
100%. Yeah. I remember there was a fitness influencer, Greg Plitt. Don't know. Do you know him? He died, I think, trying to do a very like gregarious stunt. But he was like one of like my favorite influencers, like growing up. And he used to say like, if you haven't got, it's extreme, but like if you haven't got motivation for the gym, why don't you go down and see the amputees from war veterans and like the guys that coming home from, and see how much they want to train and they can't, and you can and don't want to, like that will just be like what they wouldn't give to be able to go and do some barbell squats or something like that because they've lost a limb in battle. And you're fully capable, but you're just a bit too busy.
Yeah, Jimmy Connor did that good post about is it the hedonic treadmill?
A hedonic treadmill,
Just get used to quality of life. Like most of us live like kings and queens now. We get so used to it. Like, I can't be able to get out of bed an hour earlier to train. It's just,
We've got almost like more abundance now than like pharaohs used to have like back in like ancient times. But yet we're just kind of... it's sometimes that perspective, I think, really, there's little hacks like that are great to catch yourself in the act and motivate yourself. And you need to use those when you get into times where you feel like your motivation's waning because it is just fleeting. So, in short, I think, resolutions, as we understand human psychology better, they need to almost go or be realized for what they are, because change is not easy and change is done a certain strategic scientific way that if you're going to input that and utilize that on the 1st of January, go for it. But if you just think that this wash of being is going to hit you on the turn of the new arbitrary calendar year, no chance.
Perfect. Okay, so we wrap it up then. What would be your best tip for someone for this year that is seriously wanting to make a change?
I think it would be to really understand the power of like consistency over intensity. that like if you're going to do, I'm making this up, 100 workouts a year, you'd better off doing twice a week all year round than you are 5 times a week for the first 3 or 4 months. You know, it's still being in the game long term that drives the results. And just realize that motivation is fleeting, and understand when it's diminishing, and realize that it's your responsibility to manage it longer term with like some of the hacks, you know, like perspective, mindset, things that we were talking about. Because otherwise you are just going to default to normal human behavior, which is to minimize time and effort and give up or not be bothered. What would you say?
I'd say, apart from joining JMT, obviously it's fundamental. A little bit of a call to action there. Prioritizing sleep. I think I'd say a good quarter of my client base last year, getting their sleep better is just the fundamental for everything else, like training intensity, nutritional decisions, like productivity, movement. And there's more stuff than what you realize, I think, that you can do to improve that. And if you get that better, I think people just will sit up watching Netflix till like midnight, 1 a.m. or scrolling on their phone. Like, something sounds so simple, but if you get that right, add an extra 1 to 2 hours quality and quantity sleep, it'll be a game changer.
Yeah, I completely agree. The analogy that really stuck with me is sleep is the first domino. So if that goes, everything else kind of comes off the back of it.
Cool, perfect. Okay, so my confession this week is completely throwing a client under the bus. So I just opened my old gym and we had like big tractor tires that we brought in, and there was we did an FYF class, which is like a boot camp class. So I was demonstrating with him how to pick it up together, and as I lifted it, just let rip, and I mean the loudest, smelliest fart, and I literally was just shouting at him, like blaming him, and I still to this day feel so bad. So yeah, it's pretty sick. But you know what, one of them ones that just not expected, just annihilated the whole room. And mate, I get so embarrassed with stuff like that, and I was just like, you're disgusting. And yeah, still to this day I never admitted it was me until now. So yeah, I apologise to him.
Apologise, yeah.
Thank you for watching. Make sure you like, share and subscribe, and we will see you next week for another episode.